So, does your equipment matter when it comes to shooting cinematic video? Do you really need an expensive camera with a ton of accessories just to get smooth shots? Or could you just buy the cheapest camera on Amazon and get similar looking results? Let's find out. Hey everyone, Steve here from Learn Online Video, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can get the most out of your camera regardless of your budget. The challenge for today is to shoot a short cinematic sequence using the cheapest camera that Amazon has to offer. I'm going to be giving you tips on shooting whilst trying to capture the best results possible, and then you can be the judge. You can decide whether equipment matters or not. A big thanks to Epidemic Sound for sponsoring this video. This is where I'm going to be getting all of my music and sound effects for the final sequence. They're also offering anyone that uses the link in my description a free 30-day trial, perfect if you're on a budget. Sign up and download as much as you like. Right, should we buy a camera? Let's see what Amazon has to offer. Okay, I'm going to type in 4K action camera. 4K because I'm going to need all the help I can get to make this footage look good. Okay, we have a ton of options, but I need the cheapest. So let's go to filter and select low to high. Okay, here we go. £54 is the cheapest 4K action camera, and it claims it shoots 4K 60 frames per second. Okay, add to basket, go to checkout, ordered. And here it is. It arrived yesterday. I've taken it out to shoot some footage and I've got some very interesting results. Now, one of the first things I wanted to do was check this camera's image stabilization. I knew that if I was shooting everything handheld, then I'd need all the help I can get. The first test was simple, nice and easy. Just walk forward, camera at eye level. How smooth is the footage? And this is it. This is in 4K 60 frames per second. Now, this didn't seem too bad in terms of stabilization. The resolution is questionable. And just out of curiosity, I wanted to compare this camera to the iPhone 12. And this is the result. This is the cheap Amazon camera, and this is the iPhone 12. Now, I don't know about you, but I can see a huge difference between these two shots. The iPhone is much crisper in terms of resolution. In fact, I'm not entirely convinced that this camera can even shoot in 4K. Now, I've uploaded this video, the video that you're watching now, by the way, in 4K. So make sure that you've got 4K selected. And if you're watching on a 4K monitor or a 4K television, you be the judge. Tell me what you think. Does this look like 4K resolution to you? Okay, so what have we learned? Well, we've learned that not all 4K footage looks the same, so be careful when you're buying a camera, especially if it's a cheap one. Just because it says it shoots 4K resolution, it doesn't mean that you're guaranteed nice, clean, crisp footage. So what else can you do to improve the look of your footage when shooting on a budget camera? Well, try to keep your camera movement as smooth as possible. This will help things look a little more cinematic. There are a few ways that you can do this. The first is to shoot at a higher frame rate. I'm shooting at 60 frames per second. This will allow you to slow your footage down in the edit. I'm also not touching my camera. I've got it attached to the mini tripod in hope of reducing some of that nasty camera shake you can sometimes get when shooting handheld. Now, here's a shot pushing forward through this flowering gorse bush. Here's the original shot, a little shaky. Now let's slow this footage down by 50% and add some cinematic bars and some music. And as you can see, with some simple editing and music, you can really improve the quality of your footage. Also, try doing the ninja walk. Walk heel toe, heel toe. This will help reduce camera shake and help smooth out your footage. And if you're still struggling to get nice, smooth shots, then try shooting in slow motion. This camera, for example, has a slow motion setting that shoots at 120 frames per second, so I was really keen to try this out. Typically, when you shoot at 120 frames per second, you get super smooth footage. Here's the iPhone 13 Pro Max, for example, a shot from last week's video, super smooth, no nasty camera shake. But unfortunately, this is where this budget camera falls apart. Now, I know it's not fair to compare a £54 camera with a smartphone that costs over £1,000, but it is fun and interesting to see the difference. So here is a shot in slow motion, 120 frames per second, low to the ground, pushing forward over the river, and this is the result. Low resolution, shaky, jumpy footage, far from smooth. Now, why is this? Why does the footage look so bad? Well, I've imported the footage into my editing software, Final Cut Pro, and when I hit information, Final Cut Pro is telling me that this file is 1920 by 1080, 30 frames per second. second, not 120, so not even close, way off. If you try and slow down footage shot at 30 frames per second, this is exactly what it looks like. It looks jumpy and horrible because there's just not enough frames to create nice, smooth footage. So I do not trust this camera, and unfortunately for me, I shot about 50% of the footage yesterday in this setting, and I just don't think it's usable. So I've now lost half of the footage that I thought I had in order to create this sequence, but I still think it's possible. Now, if you've tried everything to capture nice, smooth shots and it's just not happening, your camera's shaking and your footage is looking a little bit nasty, then simply just don't move your camera. Instead, focus on well-framed and composed shots. Try to use elements within your environment to create movement. Use framing and composition techniques to help tell your story or guide your viewer's eye. The rule of thirds, symmetry. I have an entire video dedicated to framing and composition. I will link it below. Also, try to capture unusual perspectives. Try shots low to the ground. This camera, for example, came with a waterproof housing, so let's use it to capture a more interesting shot. I could dunk the camera in the river, for example. We could grab a shot from underneath the water. This would instantly make this sequence look more interesting. Okay, now another really important tip here is around your camera's exposure. Now, this camera is fully auto, so you have very little control over its settings. Let me show you an example. Here we've got a reveal shot from behind this tree, but just look at the exposure change in the sky. This is not good. It looks very cheap. So try to avoid this whenever possible. Try to avoid situations where your camera is going from a dark to a bright environment, particularly when you're shooting in auto mode on a budget camera. So on my timeline, I've laid out some of the best shots from yesterday's shoot, but 50% of them had to be thrown away because they just weren't usable. And let's be honest, the other 50% doesn't look particularly great. So where do we go from here? Well, the next step is to get some music and sound effects. An audience will often excuse low resolution footage as long as the sound quality is good. So I'm going to head over to Epidemic Sound and search for some music to help raise the production value of this footage. I want something cinematic, something that feels like it should belong in a feature film. Fortunately, Epidemic Sound make this process nice and easy. They've got playlists, albums, you can search by mood, genre, theme. They have a ton of music and some really useful features to help find exactly what you're looking for. For example, let's say you find a track that you like, but the start is a little bit slow and the ending isn't particularly good, but there's a chunk right in the middle of that track that you really like. Well, there's a feature called EAR, stands for Epidemic Audio Reference, and this will allow you to select the part of the track that you like, and then it will show you songs similar to that part of the track. I've wasted countless days of my life searching for my music in the past, so anything to help speed up this workflow is an absolute lifesaver. If you haven't tried Epidemic Sound yet, then I highly recommend it. They've got a huge library of music as well as sound effects, perfect for your video projects, and they're also offering a free 30-day trial to anyone that uses the link in my description. I'll also leave a promo code down there that will get you 50% off an annual personal plan if you're interested. Okay, should we see what all this footage looks like edited together? I'm nervous. Here we go. Right, okay, well that came out about as well as I expected for a £54 camera, but I'm genuinely curious to know what you think. What do you think of that sequence? Maybe give it a mark out of 10 in the comment section below. I'm not going to tell you my score, I'm going to let you guys decide. Now, what was the point in this video? Well, hopefully it's encouraged you to go out and shoot regardless of what camera you have. Is gear important? Well, yeah, of course it is. It's going to be much harder to shoot and get professional looking results on a camera like this. But skills, knowledge, experience, creativity will always trump gear. As long as you understand the basic fundamentals fundamentals of filmmaking, you'll be able to create something. This is why learning your craft and practicing these skills is so important. If you're able to get even half decent footage out of a camera like this, then you'll have no trouble once you upgrade. Also, focus on what you do have rather than what you don't, and think about ways that you can overcome your camera's capabilities. And in all honesty, the less you have, the more it forces you to be creative. And this is often where we do the majority of our learning. So look, I hope you found this video useful. If you did, do let me know, give it the old thumbs up. And if you'd like to learn more about filmmaking and video production, then I have a ton more content on this channel. Be sure to check it out. But that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.